students, yeah. Enoch was rather prolific, wasn't he? He was. As far as I know, he was the grandfather, great grandfather, father of Noah. So I guess in that sense, have reproduction prolific. But he did write lots and lots and lots of stuff for sure. So the final translation of Enoch, and it came to pass. I don't know why I don't like that phrasing. It came to pass that this his name during his lifetime was raised aloft, that the Son of Man and to the Lord of spirits from amongst those who dwell in the earth. And he was raised aloft on the chariots of the Spirit, and his name vanished among them. And from that day I was no longer numbered amongst them. And he set me between the two winds, between the north and the west, where the angels took cords to measure me, the place for the elect and righteous. And there I saw the first fathers and the righteous who from the beginning dwell in this place. So this is Enoch again talking, and he's going on another physical, it appears, a physical journey. I was always interested when there were these physical journeys, because that's what it seems like when you just read the text. But a lot of times the modern apologists, they'll say, no, it's like a metaphysical or spiritual kind of journey. Some people that are more New Age inclined will talk about, oh, it must have been an astral projection, and that kind of thing. And I mean, if you read the text, same with the Quran and Muhammad's, like his night journey, that's like a physical journey to a physical heaven. So it gets very difficult to say that the idea of heaven is like a spiritual thing. Remember, none of these ideas were spiritual in the past. They're just spiritual now that we, take a spacecraft and, oh, look, there's no heaven. There's no angels and jinn hanging out up here. So this is, very physical that he appears to be doing. For those of you that don't know what he's talking about between the north and the west, just to recap or just to review, the model of the Earth is a flat Earth with a dome. And outside of the dome, there's other stuff. There's water. There's pillars of fire. There's stars sometimes. And so the dome will open up and allow the sun to come in, and then it opens up on the other side and the sun exits. Same with the moon, stars, wind, and clouds. So that's where he's going, between the north and the west. Wind openings. That's where he is. I don't know. I really like talking about the dome. It makes me feel like it's like a factory, or I guess that scene from the Truman Show where it just suddenly becomes a set. You think everything's this expansive like horizon, and it's just, oh, it's a set. So that's kind of how I think about it. I feel like if Enoch is, in this area, maybe he's seeing the bolts that holds everything together. That's kind of the impression I get. Obviously not from the text, just from my own thoughts, but that's kind of how I see it. If you guys have any other ideas, what do you guys think of when you think of the dome? When I'm talking about this dome that was placed by Yahweh, what do you think about it? Do you visualize it as a crystalline structure? Do you a crystal? I guess crystal structure, not crystalline structure. You guys know what I'm saying. I'm not your science teacher. Do you view it as like a metallic structure? What are you thinking? For me, for some reason, I'm thinking metallic. I don't know why. This is the Old Testament view of the earth, yes. So this is seen in some parts of Christianity. A lot of people that believe in the flat earth, that believe this because of their religious beliefs, they follow this as well. The earth is flat with a dome. That's what they're referring to. But you'll also see this in some, what am I thinking? Fundamentalists like Judaism, like some sects of fundamentalist Judaism. And also in the Quran, it is also listed like this as well. Let's see. Good to know. Got to know about your channel from a Prostate Prophet conference. Cool. Nice to have you here. Let me know if you also want to see the Quran. I feel like it's still better for apostate prophet and other ex-Muslims to cover it, but just from like an outsider's perspective, I think it might be fun to cover. Angels open the dome to let in the sun and wind. It's not automatic, correct? That's right. So it appears that the sun and the moon move on their course as directed by Yahweh, or again, it is referenced in the Quran for Allah. So Allah allows the sun. The sun prostrates under Allah's throne, and then Allah allows it to go back on its course. And at one point, it won't be allowed, and so it has to rise from the east and set in the west, and that's how we'll know that Judgment Day is going to happen. Judgment Day is imminent. So that's the idea, is that the sun, the moon, the stars, they're sort of on a fixed course and they run it by themselves. So it's not the idea of like Apollo, for example, who had a chariot that pulled the sun. We're not talking about it that way, but in terms of opening and closing the dome to let them run their course, yeah, it's almost like a cuckoo clock. That's kind of how it is. And so there's like a little mechanical like gears and stuff that open the doors to allow the characters to move around on the cuckoo clock. Those gears would be the angels, and then that course that pulls them along, that's kind of what the sun and moon do by themselves. Yeah, it's a good question. Flat Earth, yes, flat Earth. I don't know if we'll ever get into the flat Earth as a movement on the channel, but the flat Earth as it applies to old religions, yeah, we definitely do have to talk about that. So the Earth is flat in these older religions, yeah. Let's see. And even the rain, it comes from the waters above the dome, right? And they drained out below the dome as well. So the idea for Noah's flood, the floodwaters did not evaporate. The caverns of the deep opened up and the water left. So if you think about the earth being flat, and you can kind of think about my fingers kind of spreading to be the caverns of the deep that opened up. So the water just kind of runs out from the bottom of the earth. So that's how they were supposed to do that. Oh, the glasses are OT. Are they Old Testament? I don't know. Are you talking 50s vintage? Not sure. Not sure. I don't. Please don't try to be. What am I thinking? Don't try to do any like references or a lot of abbreviations with me today. My brain is very slow. The glasses mean migraine is coming. That's what they mean. I was thinking of a snow globe. Okay. Remind me of the game Trouble with the dice in a bubble. Yes, it's like that kind of thing. So occasionally it will get shaken up. Ancient aliens love the Book of Enoch. Chariots of the Gods reference. The claim is the book is a depiction of aliens. It's a far stretch, is it? Could be. I am interested in ancient aliens as a concept. I don't have like a belief that this is totally what happened, and you know, it's a bit insulting to a lot of the ancient peoples to say, oh, you couldn't have built that without the help of aliens. You know, it's just a. I mean, it's a pyramid. It just takes time. But I mean, we even have like the blueprints from Imhotep, you know, the architect. So, but with the thing about Enoch, I think I've seen more with the Chariots of Gods referring to Ezekiel. Enoch, I feel like Enoch was more of having a vision. So assuming aliens are real and interacted and came and, you know, people mistook them for gods and stuff, of the accounts, I would say Enoch's more of a dream or hallucination or something like that, a fanciful tale, but something like, or maybe even like a drug-induced journey. But for Ezekiel, that would seem, I guess, slightly more like UFO. Yeah. So I think for Enoch, it doesn't seem as ancient aliens friendly. Yeah. There's too many fantastical elements. And if there was somebody who was literally taken up by a UFO and aliens were like, yeah, so this is how your planet works and stuff, we wouldn't have a dome, north winds, the sun is being you know, on a course that passes so close to the Earth itself, you know. I like the idea of dung beetles pushing the sun a lot. I do. It's a good time. I think of it as glass because I saw snow globes before I ever heard of the dome. Also, if you cracked, it would be impossible to ignore and it would be shattered. Lots of bloodshed. Very symbolism, okay? Jehovah's Witnesses have a bit of apologetics to approach the shape of the earth, trying to warp the word circle to say they meant sphere, but didn't have a word for it in ancient Hebrew. Yeah, because apparently, you know, if they didn't have a word for it, they would have an approximation like a ball, you know, or an egg. That's a word they would have had that's a lot closer to a sphere than a circle is, right? But I know you're referring to that they sit above the circle of the earth. I think that's what the phrase or from the verse. I don't remember exactly the verse number. But I mean I believe they did have a word for sphere, but again, even if they didn't, something like egg, rock, ball, skull, so any other word for it. Like in English, for example, the reason that the word orange, the color, and the word orange, the fruit, are the same word is because in English there wasn't a word for orange. But there was still a way to describe it. So in these texts before an orange, so the orange color in English is named after naranj, which is the fruit name. I think it's in one language from India or Pakistan. And so it became like naranj, orange, slowly over time. So before that, you would get stuff like the color of the sunset, a color that was of like a fox, the color between red and yellow, or a reddish yellow, a yellowish red. So you would still get a description of the color orange in some way, either comparing it to nature or trying to describe it in terms of the colors, the color words they already had. So just because there's no word for it, it doesn't mean that they necessarily had to default to something else. Although that is how we get redhead instead of orange head. So I thought about a green hours when you said dome or greenhouse. Okay, everything is fine in the greenhouse. When the weather is nice, but severe weather hits, everything in the greenhouse dies. Interesting. It's medical, octagonal lattice with hinged crystal panels to let the sun and the moon and the rain through. I like that. That's very Buckminster Fullerene. Yes, maybe that's what it is. It's just a giant buckyball. That's it. That's it. All right, y'all. Let's go next to chapter 71. Please correct me if I'm not like up to, I don't know. I'm not super quick with the Roman numerals, so it does take a second to calculate, especially with this head being the way it is today. Just joined. Nice glasses. Thank you. Anytime I have these types of glasses on, it does mean an impending migraine, but I try to bring it on fashionably. All right. So this is the last bit of the Noah section. So it came to pass that after this, my spirit was translated. That's an interesting kind of thing, isn't it? And it ascended to the heavens and saw the holy sons of God. So it seems that Enoch's spirit, and these are visions of Enoch. So this does seem more of something that I guess in modern vernacular we might refer to as an astral projection. Or even dissociation, but I don't know that you could have a spiritual journey while in the middle of a dissociative episode. So this is not physical Enoch anymore, but he's up near the dome. They were stepping on flames of fire. Their garments were white, and their faces shone like snow. Fun fact, I've heard some, like, these references to glowing people. I have heard some white supremacists try to argue that this is how we know that the best race is white, because these references to whiteness. Really, it's talking about how someone is so holy, they're radiating some kind of light. So it's not white like a skin color, like a beige kind of skin color, but we're talking about white like white, because it's almost as if it's a light, you know, as if you're to look at, and I don't want to look at it, but if you want to look at like a light bulb, we wouldn't look at a light bulb and say, oh wow, the person who made the light bulb, the color is white, so therefore they were a white supremacist or something. We would never make that association. So that's similar here. Just something I did want to mention. So Enoch is seeing two streams of fire, and the light of the fire shone like hyacinth. That's a flower, if you guys don't know. And I fell on my face before the Lord of Spirits. Enoch keeps falling. This boy, our boy, needs to invest in some knee pads or something. You know what I mean? I feel like he should be, covered up as if he's gonna do roller derby. Enoch keeps collapsing. You'd think that he would get used to it. He keeps being brought in front of God and just seeing all kinds of horrors. You would think that he would get used to it a bit, but apparently he's not. This boy just it's like a fainting goat. So the angel Michael, and it specifies again, one of the archangels, seized me by my right hand, lifted me up, and led me forth into all the secrets, and he showed me all the secrets of righteousness. Are we actually going to talk about the secrets this time, Enoch? You're just going to mention that they're there, just a little teaser text here, right? Also, by my right hand, that does seem really uncomfortable, doesn't it? I mean, at least get him, under the armpits or something. Come on, Mikhail. See, he's just kind of... We were talking about this last time, how the angels sort of just treat or speak to Enoch as if he's like somebody would speak to an animal. Not necessarily disrespectful, but definitely not respectful. So, just going to see what you guys are saying in the chat. Are they red yellow glasses? That they are. They're yellowy red. Mathematical term for moved. Oh, for translated, yes. I think that was in Old Norse. Any color from red to yellow. And then we have a Ra, which I don't know if that's a marine reference. Is it 71? Did I say 72? Thank you, Leonardo. 71. He shows the secrets of the heaven and all the chambers of all the stars and all the luminaries whence they proceed before the face of the holy ones. One thing about the stars is they do appear to have their own will. That was one thing that was much earlier in the Book of Enoch we had covered. And so now that they're all in these I feel like they're just kind of like in a squad bay, or they're like actors getting ready offset, just hanging out in this chamber, and then the angel's like, hey son, time to go, okay, and then proceeds out, on its path. And that's just kind of the idea that we get. It's a very, again, old, super unscientific way to look at it. I don't know, I'm trying to think, if I was still Christian, how would I try to excuse this? I don't know what is going on. This has happened a couple times. I don't know what is going on with my mouse. So it is a bit odd. So I don't know how, if you guys are thinking, put your apologist hat on, how would you try to describe this, where it's literally talking about literal stars hanging out together, obviously not super huge, and they proceed from this chamber occasionally to go on their course once a day or once a night. Let's see, and he translated my spirit into the heaven of heavens, and I saw that there was a structure built of crystals. Okay, so we got that crystal structure. And between those crystals, tongues of living fire. I mean, that is a frightening description. That is one thing I always found odd, was like reading Revelation, for example. There are some very frightening descriptions. I don't know how you get the idea of a cherub being a cute little naked baby angel. I mean, the cherubim are frightening. I mean, this is a very frightening kind of thing. I don't know why Yahweh would, it just seems odd, that Yahweh would have so many things that are supposed to be pleasing to the eye for us in heaven, but all of them are horrifying, like something literally covered in eyeballs. Horrifying. I think that's why the angels are always like, be ye not afraid, because they're really scary looking. It's not like, oh, it's a shiny man who fell down from heaven. It's like, eyeball covered nonsense, you know. It's undulating and it's just like, don't be afraid of me. Like, that's such a scary. The angels are frightening. They are frightening things. Just want to see what you guys are saying in the chat real quick. Mikhail seems petty, like a petty, bossy superior. I agree. The Holy Green Room, yes, something like that. That's the kind of idea I get. Another comparison to Old Norse, I think they use whiteness and brightness to describe people who were handsome or beautiful, but it didn't have anything to do with skin color. Because if a man didn't have tan skin, he was considered a coward and not handsome. Yeah, these days I think we would just say radiant. That's how we would refer to the person. Like when a pregnant woman, you know, they have that glow. We say, oh, you're glowing, you're radiant. If somebody is recovering from an illness, we refer to them as radiant, you know, as radiating some kind of light or energy or brightness, but we're not talking like an actual, oh, your skin is pale. You know, that's not what we mean. And so that's not what they mean here either. Oh, then Michael's bossy behavior makes sense as an assistant director. Fear equals power. Yeah, but it just seems a little odd, I guess. That, like, you're Yahweh and you create the earth. And you decide to make all this stuff that's very pleasing. And then in heaven, all the stuff that's very pleasing to you is just horrible looking. It just seems really odd to me. But I guess some of the scorpions or something on Earth can be horrifying to some people. So I guess it is pretty subjective. Revelation is just one bad trip. I have heard that. I don't necessarily disagree from that hypothesis. There are two types of mythology: the one that or two types of fire: the one that destroys and the one that protects. Yeah, that is definitely true. There's the fire of protection or the fire of glory, and a lot of times it's almost like an animated fire. It's interesting. A maiden fair, yeah. I feel like Enoch got really high. I mean, if he did, I wouldn't. I mean, that happened. That's such a common thing for religion. Why is my voice so low? Do you mean the pitch or do you mean the volume? If it's the pitch, then I don't know. It might have to do something with just not getting enough sleep. If it's the volume, somebody let me know. But I think I'm looking at my settings. It looks appropriate, so it's not going to get that like crunchy. The volume, huh? Anybody else having this issue? Just so we know which end. Hello, SJ. So it's not okay. It's not volume. So Cushy, it could have something to do with your settings. I know for me sometimes if I'm trying to listen to something, sometimes I actually accidentally covered the speaker. So that's okay. So you guys can't hear me. Okay, good. Because I have been really trying to mess with the settings to make it okay. All right. So we see the crystal tongue, or between the crystals, the tongues of living fire. I mean, just try to visualize this. So I don't know what the structures are necessarily looking like, but let's say there's some kind of house or some kind of small building, like a mausoleum. And then there's fire between that. Just imagine the glowing kind of color. I'm imagining the light bouncing off in all directions off of the crystal, and it just seems very interesting, I think. Yeah, just a really... I wish he would have described that. That would be, you know, again, it's kind of a frightening sort of thing, you know, to have, you know, you could have surrounded it with, like, nice plants. You know, that's what I would have done. So the spirits, so Enoch, again, my spirit saw, so he's again referring to the fact that he's not physically there, saw the girdle which girt that house of fire. Again, we got that lovely, lovely phrasing. I saw the thing around that went around the house of fire, and on its four sides were streams full of living fire, and they girt the house. So looks like maybe some kind of moat, some kind of fence that's going to be around this building that's just made of fire. And round about are going to be seraphim, cherubic, and ophanim. And these are different classes of angels, or different levels or ranks of angels. Ranks is probably the best word. And these are they who sleep not and guard the throne of his glory. Maybe that's why the angels are jealous of humans, because we sleep and they don't. But maybe they don't need sleep, I guess. And I saw the angels who could not be counted, 1,000 thousands, and 10,000 times 10,000, encircling that house. That's a... Again, I mean, how big is this house? You know, where's Enoch that he can see the little blip of a house surrounded by fire and 10,000 times 10,000 angels? So Michael, Raphael, Gibrael, and Phanuel. So these are the holy angels above the heavens. They go in and out of that house. Again, interesting. I guess these are like, I guess if God, like Yahweh's like a, I don't know, some supreme commander, like a commandant of the Marine Corps. I guess these are going to be different 5-star generals or something along those lines for Michael, Raphael. So they've got this special access. I'm assuming that Yahweh is going to be hanging out with them. So they come forth. Many angels are also coming forth, and with them is Yahweh. So his head is white and pure as wool, and his raiment is indescribable. So we can't even... I'm assuming he's just so radiant. He's hard to look at. Which is a weird concept, you know, but literally radiating light, which is interesting. See what you guys have to say. Maybe it's just plasma like a force field. That might be something, yeah. Lots of guards. It could be an HQ building. They could just sleep with half their brain at a time like a whale. Yeah, or like Space Marines, right? They do that. Imagine being an angel, a common one, living forever in your rank without growing in any, right? Doesn't that seem really boring? The more we learn about the regular angels, it seems less shocking that the Watchers left their post. You know what I mean? Explains Lucifer's rebellion for sure. He can't even go to sleep. Poor guy. So Enoch again falls on his face. Girl, come on. Get yourself together. Good God, girl, get a grip. Okay? His whole body becomes relaxed. His spirit is transfigured again. And he cries with a loud voice with the spirit of power and blessed and glorified and extolled. These blessings go forth out of my mouth. Were well pleasing before the head of days. This doesn't seem... You know, this idea that being in heaven is going to be awesome, it's not. We talked about that last time. This idea that you're just there constantly yelling praises to Yahweh. And I mean, when I'm seeing this, I don't see this as a beautiful thing. It might just be, you know, a translation. It might just be a very literal translation into English, and maybe there's some poetic nuance that was lost. But this idea that Enoch sees Yahweh, collapses, and screams praises. I mean, imagine a king that require that. You know? That you're just kind of hanging out, doing your thing, and then you notice the king. You drop to your face and start screaming about how good our king is. Long live the king. The king is amazing and wonderful. And the king walks by and is like, pleases me. I mean, that's the impression I get. You know, the more that you actually try to read biblical text or Quranic text about the God of these religions, the less wonderful they seem, to put it mildly. So the head of days comes with Michael and Gibrael, comes with Raphael and Phanuel, thousands and tens of thousands of angels without number. So... Again, we've got all those angels moving. There is a section that does get lost. The Son of Man was described as accompanying the head of days, and Enoch asked one of the angels concerning the Son of Man as to who he was. Cool. Too bad it got lost. So when the angel, came to me and greeted me with his voice, and said unto me, This is the Son of Man, who is born unto righteousness, and righteousness abides over him. And the righteousness of the head of days forsakes him not. And he said unto me, He proclaims unto thee the peace in the name of the world to come. For hence has proceeded peace since the creation of the world, and so it shall be forever and ever and ever. Didn't we just delete the humans? That doesn't sound like peace. And all shall walk in his ways, since righteousness never forsaketh him. With him will be their dwelling places, with him their heritage, and they shall not be separated from him forever and ever and ever. And so there shall be the length of days with that Son of Man, and the righteousness shall have peace in an upright way in the name of the Lord of spirits forever and ever. Cool. Son of Man sounds pretty interesting, right? Head of days again is another term for Yahweh. But again, proclaims unto thee peace. Nothing about either Yahweh himself or the Trinity concept, or even just Yahweh himself, and then also Jesus as a separate but equal sort of, Son of God kind of thing. Nothing about them seems very peaceful. It's almost like the idea of Islam as peace, where they say, well, technically it means peace, so therefore it is peace because we changed a term around. You know what I mean? It's sort of a dictionary kind of game. But the idea of peace is really, if everybody converts to Islam and doesn't fight back or leave Islam or whatever, then everything's supposed to be peaceful. So it's like, if we all obey the dictator, then we have peace. It's not a true kind of peace where everybody is happy and there's no conflict. It's that we're all so scared to do anything that it becomes not conflict, but I wouldn't say peace. What about you guys? What say you? Would you refer to that as a type of peace, or do you think that is something else entirely? All right, so we're going to check out these chats as well. Oh dear, Enoch again. There goes Enoch again. Someone pick him up, please. I know. What rank of angel is Jeffrey? That's a good question. Since he talks directly to Yahweh, I would say Jeffrey must be an archangel, just under that. So, Jeffrael. Enoch is way too extra. He is. He's a very, dramatic individual. I mean, love it. It is pretty scary stuff, doesn't it? I think that falling on my face means bowing to the floor. It may be, but we've also seen Enoch lose himself and, collapse. Why do you always say praise, you praise, you praise, you praise all the time to Yahweh, or however you spell his name? So his name is actually YHWH, all in capitals like that. That's how you do spell it. Or you can spell it as Jehovah, which should be Yehovah. That's another way. Some folks are content. They know their rank is necessary, and it's where they fit best. Not everyone has a Luciferian ambition. That's true. But so far we haven't seen these angels actually do much. They just kind of hang out. They're referred to as the angels. Just like you'd have a bunch of, well, I was going to say you have a bunch of E1, E2 kind of ranks. But some of them do seem content. They're just yeah, whatever. We had this guy that kept getting busted down. Every time he got promoted, he would get demoted a month later. And he was just yeah, this is just my rank. I'm more comfortable here. Okay. Maybe that's who they are. Maybe. I don't know if you ever played Elder Scrolls. I haven't. I've played some that were based similarly, but not the Elder Scrolls itself. There's a lore. There's Daedra, or Daedra, a deity called the Hermaeus Mora, very similar to the undulating eyeball angel. Yeah, a lot of if you wanted some scary characters, biblical lore is good to check out. Julius Caesar had, hang on, someone following him saying Memento Mori. Oh, that's creepy. That's creepy. Is that angel talking about Jesus? That's a good question. That's what I want to know as well. This is never really explained, and I'm hoping it's kind of explained further. The Son of Man, it appears, could be an angel. It could be a very righteous human, or it could be God Part 2 in some fashion, which we would know today or recognize today as Jesus. Yeah. Does it say Yahweh needs a genuflection, or does Enoch just have that? I'm not sure. I think Enoch is just responding that way. He responds this way a lot. When he's overwhelmed, he just kind of falls. That's his thing. Yahweh doesn't seem to be very peaceful, and all of this seems to be very confusing. It is. It's like a convert or die type of thing. It is fear. Okay, so you guys are talking about that. I think the afterlife is going to suck a little bit. No, it's not peace. Peace by the sword is never peace. Rear Admiral, perhaps if we're going to be using naval terms. I'd have to be a linguist to know what their original word for peace was. It could just mean order. Right, it could mean order. But then I would wonder why they would translate it to peace specifically. In the Latin alphabet, Jehovah is spelled with an I. Yeah, so the I, it's like the capital I had a little tail and that became a J over time. But the original pronunciation is like a Y kind of sound. So that's why, like in German, for example, the J sound makes like a Y sound, like Ja. And so if you were to take that and write it or use a German pronunciation, it's like Jehovah, because the V makes a F as well. But then reading that in more modern English, you would say Jehovah. And so that's sort of the problem. Like Jehovah's Witnesses, they use that name. They say it's the correct name of God, but it's actually based on a misunderstanding of German. So, oops. Yeah, Wounded Monk, that's totally fine. You can put those images there. I guess you'll think it's peace if you want to become the ones in charge. That's true. Hello, Ra. Senpai has noticed you. Let's see. I'm not a Sundara senpai, so don't worry. I'll say hello. Being a guardian for an omnipotent guy doesn't seem any sense to me. Right. That's what I don't understand. That's why I feel like those angels, if that's their job. But it seems, from what we encountered at the beginning of the book, it seems like Yahweh is not all-knowing. And that's sort of reflected actually in the rest of the Old Testament. He doesn't seem to be an all-knowing kind of guy. He's got to physically show up to some places or be notified of things. The angels seem like very interesting people, or should I say entities. I'm an enthusiast of angels. I'm very intrigued. Yeah, the angels, they seem more like if we are a zoo, they are the caretakers in the zoo. That's what it appears. So I think that's maybe the best description. So just like we would have a bunch of animals in the zoo, we are among those animals for the angels. And again, the angels don't seem to be particularly hateful or spiteful of us humans, but it does seem to be something more, again, not disrespectful, but not respectful. It's like we're a thing to them. And we saw this last time when Enoch collapsed because he saw all these people being killed during the Great Flood and everything. And I think it was Michael or Raphael. He was like, come on, get yourself together. Whatever. Like, why are you being so dramatic? It's like, because you just annihilated my whole species. Oh, yeah, I guess you would be dramatic. It's like he just didn't even think that this would be a problem. Just like if you have a pet pig and you're eating bacon. You don't think this is offensive to the pig. Or if you have a pet bird, but you also keep chickens that you slaughter routinely while you've got your bird hanging out on your shoulder, and it never occurs to you that, oh, am I offending the bird? You never think that way. And that's the impression that I got from the archangels. They just kind of do whatever to humans, and then, oh, there's a human in my midst. They don't think, oh, this could be offensive to the human, All right. Let's see. Regarding the angel talking about Jesus, I don't think the Bible has spoilers. Yeah, that's true, right? Saw the thumbnail, was a little disappointed with the lack of glasses. I could put it. I have a glasses picture that I took as well. Just wasn't sure which one to use. But if you guys dig the glasses, yeah. Hello, Paul. Good day to you. Let's see. Dr. Jones, almost forgot the I. Again, if that's like a reference to Indiana, then it's lost on me right now. I'm having a hard time. I've read that peace comes from pes, which means reconciliation, silence, agreement. I guess it would be one of those, I mean, it could come from that. right? But then I guess we would wonder, which one it is. Because sometimes we do have words that might make a little bit more sense, or they might be more common to us in English and it gets translated that way. But then as the language evolves, which it will, that word doesn't mean what it used to mean in English 50 years ago, and, let alone being translated from another language hundreds or thousands of years ago. Excuse me. Why does he need a guardian? Is something going on? I think that's probably what I'm into, what answers this. Yeah, I think it's like maybe Yahweh wants to take a nap, and so that's why these guys aren't napping. Maybe he's just like napping all the time. Maybe that, I mean, that would make sense. He's omnipotent, but he sleeps a lot. Yeah, and maybe that would make him not malevolent, but also not benevolent. Did we figure it out? Maybe we figured it out. Maybe we just got a tired boy up there, He's a little sleepyhead. If Mikhail said, "Why are you falling down and crying?" You knew this would happen. I think it was Mikhail that who said that. Yeah, I think so. Because he's the one kind of, I don't know, he seems to be more callous. It would be better to see the Hebrew etymology for the word they translated into Latin. I'm not sure if they translated this into Latin before, because they found the Book of Enoch very recently, like in the 1900s. They found it, yeah. So this is not one of those, but it might apply, definitely would apply to like an older, or the Old Testament, yeah. Queen of migraine glasses. Girl, you know. Good night, Richard. Have fun. Nah, birds eat birds, pigs eat pigs, people judge and kill each other all the time. Sure, it's not a perfect analogy, but you get the idea. You know what I mean? What, Dr. Jones, Indiana Jones? Yeah, but you said he forgot the I, so I don't know what you meant by that. That's why I said Indiana, but I don't know what you mean by forgetting the I. God is narcolepsy. That's it. Our boy, he just... But then if he's perfect, maybe that's perfection. So if you also have narcolepsy, be comforted. So too does your God. I thought he was all powerful. What is this? I need a guard nonsense. I don't get it. I don't know. Maybe he's got a bunch of like jewels that he doesn't want people to sneak away. But for some reason, I wasn't thinking jewels. I was thinking Cadbury cream eggs. And he's just got all these Cadbury... I don't know why that's the thing that popped into my head, but now Yahweh's got a bunch of Cadbury cream eggs stashed under his bed. And he doesn't want anyone to sneak one off. That's it. Every time he gets excited, he falls asleep. Exactly. That's, well, no, that's Enoch. Yeah, Enoch, not Yahweh. Yeah, maybe that's it. I mentioned that he could be part fainting goat. But that's, I think, an Archer joke reference. Let's see. Hello, Shuggle. Thank you for joining us as well. I thought he didn't need sleep. Maybe he doesn't need it. Maybe he just likes it. I mean, how many of you take a nap when you don't need to take a nap? You know what I mean? Maybe that's just him. He's just into that. Maybe when God dreams, that's when he creates. So now we get into the science. And I know all of you have come here for the Book of Enoch to teach you cosmology. And that's what we're going to check out in the next chunk here, okay? So the book of the courses of the heavenly luminaries. I'm sure we're going to get the orbit of the planets around our sun. I'm sure we're going to talk about galaxies. I mean, what do we expect? What do you guys expect? Let's go ahead and take a pause. What do we expect to hear from Enoch about the celestial bodies overhead? What are y'all thinking? No work on a Saturday, though. That's good. It's a Sunday morning for me, so that's why we're having our Bible study. Let's see. So Yahweh mostly naps. Jesus generally loiters, yeah. And maybe the Holy Ghost does the day-to-day holy work. That's it. I mean, when you're slain in the spirit, you're not slain in the Yahweh. So, I think we cracked it. We figured it out. Do you think the Holy Ghost likes to do that, though? Do you think it's like parts of God that, like one part of God that's just like, ugh, I just want to rest? Oh, because, day 7, he took a rest. And then Jesus, like, the part that's like, oh, I just want to, like, hang out and be lazy but not sleep, like gaming. Like, Jesus is the gamer. He's the son, okay? He's the gamer that hangs out in the basement. And then the Holy Ghost is that part of you that really wants to be productive. That's it. That's it. So he figured out how to split himself into 3 different pieces. So all of his personality traits can be doing their thing 100% of the time. That's a good plan. So if God dreams, he creates. Well, that was just sort of a joke. Yeah. It doesn't mention that anywhere. Let's see. I expect you not to fall on his face again. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe Enoch is like, oh, wow, there's a star. Just flop. You never know. He's like my great uncle. He falls asleep, but if you change the TV, he goes, hey, I was watching that. They always do that, right? Every elderly person, they're always perpetually watching the TV. Book of the Courses is an instruction manual for the worker angels. When open or close the dome, don't bother Yahweh, when to file daily reports, etc. Okay, so that could be it. What is this? Harry Potter, he split himself into 3. Again, I don't know that reference, but sure. But I don't know. Maybe he did that. Let's see. Judging by how you're introducing it, I expect it to be a bit abstract or metaphorical sounding. So typically with this, it's not metaphorical sounding. It's like a very literal, we open the dome and the sun has a duty and it does its duty. Like that's like the sun could choose to not follow its course. Like we've taught, it was earlier in the book. Not in the live stream, but in the book. So the sun could choose to disobey. It just doesn't, but it could. So, science. This is good. Maybe this is what I need to teach for, my first chapter geography stuff. Yeah. In the 3rd Indiana Jones movie, there's a temple puzzle. He starts with a J. Okay. That makes, thank you. That makes much more sense. Similar to Brahma regarding the sleeping and dreaming. It could be, for sure. Do you have jet lag still? Or do you have yet lag? In Latin, Jehovah starts with an I. Yes, we had mentioned the I concept. I remember some fake photos of giant skeletons that people believe were Nephilim or something like that described in the Book of Enoch. Maybe I'm wrong. So you do, yes, those were photoshopped photos. Like you said, they are fake. It was actually part of some kind of like a Photoshop contest, and somebody had submitted that. So it was never meant to be like a hoax. It was just a Photoshop contest. But as far as people saying they're the Nephilim, those are people that I think perhaps didn't read the Book of Enoch, because when we read it and did the calculation, the height of not for the Nephilim, but these were supposed to be, no, maybe it was the Nephilim. Yeah, the children of the Watchers and the humans. They're like 3 kilometers tall. Like, these are giants on a scale of, ancient mythological proportions. You know what I mean? These are not relatable, oh, it's just a big guy, or oh, it's a big and scary, like the Cyclops, for example. These are mountain-sized giants. This is not, oh, there's Goliath, and maybe he was like, 200 meters or 200 centimeters tall, or like 6'5", and technically, since a lot of people were pretty short in the past, he would be perceived as a giant. They were 3 kilometers tall. So even if some people might say, oh, I do want to believe that these photos are not hoaxes, even then they still wouldn't be accurate with the Book of Enoch. Yeah. Harry Potter is a book. Harry Potter is 7 books, was made into a movie. I know that, but I don't know about the 3 splitting. We should pray to the sun so it rises and sets. We could, or go with me, sacrifice somebody on a temple pyramid and throw the body down the steps. That's another option to bring that back. Let's see. The Horcrux keeps I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. Object which keeps you part of your soul to keep your body alive To keep you alive if your body gets hurt. Oh, okay. Angel. Well, maybe that's what it is. The Yahweh crux. Maybe, I don't know. Angels probably wonder why people are so important. Mikhail probably sees Enoch prostrate himself and contemplates the virtue of that piety to Creator. You know what? Maybe. So maybe if I was like, okay, so if I'm a teacher, right? I'm a teacher, and maybe I bring one of my cats to class, and I just, like, I don't give my students any snacks, but, like, the cat is constantly given snacks. Maybe it's like that, yeah. They're just, like, the favorite. So the giants are as big or bigger than a volcano? Yes. Yes. Maybe they were volcanoes. You know what I mean? Maybe that was some kind of inspiration. Attack on Titan, stealing ideas from the Bible. Exactly. 3 kilometers is unimaginably large, and a mammal would overheat immediately. Yeah, but would you classify it as a mammal? Half angel? I don't know. 3 kilometers makes me think of Lovecraft's creatures. Right, we're talking like elder gods. We're talking freaking huge. That's good. Like my idea, Lee Lemon's Human Sacrifice Cookbook, including 3 bonus recipes for nosy neighbors, and also how to cook those nosies as well. Using the metric system, may I ask where you're from? So I live in Korea, so I have to be like on metric, like weights and stuff are in metric, but I'm originally from, like I grew up in the US, and so that's why I converted it that way. But a lot of the people here, we have like an international group, so that's why I kind of default to metric first, yeah. I can see that you as a teacher. I am a teacher. I hope you can see me as a teacher. Teacher's pet, literally, yes. When we did have the Zoom classes, unfortunately Krampus would get involved, and I did, so we had, Chaco was here. Chaco's very chunky, not unhealthily, but he's a Maine Coon. He's quite large. He's like 8.8 kilos or 8.5 kilos, so he's about, I don't know, 17, 18 pounds. He's a big cat. And the students really liked him. And they weren't paying attention, as one does, you know, especially if you're online and we're doing this Zoom class nonsense, right? And so I said, okay, you guys all have to participate, you know, to get your points and stuff. And they're like, yeah, whatever. But if you don't participate today, then Chaco doesn't get a snack. And they were like, teacher, no! So they all participated, and I sent them an image of Chaco getting his snack. So that was a fun one with the teacher's pet. The biggest giants I know being dug up by archaeologists are tall as some of the tallest people today. Does anyone have more info? I don't have more info other than there's no substantiated, like, 3 kilometer tall humanoid skeletons. Yeah. So an angel is, well, the height of an angel is probably 3 kilometers. No, they're not. So, I mean, they could be as angels, but when they interact with humans, they take on the form of beautiful men. It's always men. Derogatorily so in the Quran, actually. So they're taken on as men. So they were the size of, because the Nephilim are their babies with the humans and these human form angels. So that was how they did that. 3 kilometer tall giant is nothing to explain away for some. The Mud Fossil University, if they believe hard enough. Yeah, there are those people that believe that mountains are really ancient petrified trees or something. 3 kilometers is taller than the tallest mountain in Australia. Yeah, it's pretty big. That was my joke. I know you're a teacher. Oh, okay. I love Krampus. Maybe we'll let him in. He's very talkative. 9 feet people. I've heard of that they were like 9 feet tall. So, no. These are 3 kilometers. Alright. So, let's get sciencing. Ooh, we got the sun. This is good. Alright, so what do we know about the sun? Forget it. We're about to learn more. Okay, the truth. The book of the courses of the luminaries of the heaven, the relations of each according to their classes, their dominion, and their seasons, according to their names and places of origin, according to their months, which Uriel, the holy angel who was with me, who was their guide, showed me. I guess this is his battalion. And he showed me all their laws, exactly as they are, and how it is regarded, or how it is with regard to all the years of the world, and unto eternity, till the new creation is accomplished, which dureth till eternity. The new creation, that's the new earth. Okay? So the idea, by the way, that a lot of modern Christians have, that you're just going to go to heaven and be in heaven, most people aren't going there. You're either going to hell or just going to die and then you're dead. Or you live on the new earth. So you're not actually hanging out in heaven for most souls. So again, when we read this seems very mythology. I forgot. I was going to look up that word. I forgot that word. But there's a type of literature that it's a type of story that explains like an origin of something in nature. And so they try to explain it mythologically. Sort of like how like a lot of native legends we recognize as legends, or these tales of, yeah, this is how this animal does this, or this is how these trees bloom at this time, and this is, you know, the origin of that. This is what it sounds like, doesn't it? This doesn't sound special, doesn't sound unique. I know with a lot of the monotheistic religions, they try to present themselves as unique in some fashion. I mean, this is just the same stuff, but instead of different gods or demigods, we're getting angels and the literal star. So the star isn't a god. The star isn't a radiant being. The star is a star, but it has sentience. It's like, oh, okay, you know, cheap knockoff, right? That's kind of what it seems like. As I was saying, the derogatorily beautiful man. As I said that, I realized that might be confusing. So yeah, thanks for asking. No, that they're not women, and that's what I was thinking derogatorily. So, so in the Quran, in very several surahs, which are the different books, it says that some of the pagans among you, or the polytheists among you, they think that the angels are women. But why would God produce women? Like, it refers to it that way, you know, that God's children are women, but why would God have women? You know, surely God would have men. All the angels are male. Don't believe that. So it's insulting, this idea that God's soldiers, I guess you would describe them in that way, or his workers. None of them would be women. That's dumb and stupid. Obviously, even humans know men are better, so surely Allah would know men are better too. Why would he do that? And it also refers to like giving people a daughter. Again, we can go through the Quran, but it's not a nice phrasing by any stretch of the imagination. Someone did find 9-foot tall people. I should say the bones of 9-foot people. You can put that in the Discord, but I think that may have been hoaxed. Yeah. Uriel is the funniest angel in his garrison. I think so. Want to live on New Earth. Hey, as long as I don't get migraines, I'm alright. One part of the JWs that they got right. Yes, I agree. I totally agree. I got into it with my mom at one point. Is God the light, and then he created the sun as light and heat? After, we haven't gotten into that yet. So we haven't gotten into that yet. I don't want a second life. This one is enough. I do. I want a second life. As long as it's productive and not just like, oh, Yahweh, you're awesome. Maybe the word you're looking for is Euharamiso. I'm not sure I know the name in English. Well, we'll just use that. I don't know what language that is, but we'll go with that. Disaster means something like bad star. Yeah, I've heard that, but I'm not sure of the accuracy of that. I would like to say thank you for making videos. They really break the fear programming in religion. I'm glad you find them helpful, Marcus. If you can be more specific, so that way I know maybe to make more videos along those lines, let me know. Sorry, I don't know what, my throat is so dry. The Quran is horrifically sexist. Yeah, even more so than the Bible. Okay. A euhemerism. Is that what they're called? I totally forgot. I thought it was with an A, but don't trust migraine brain right now. Just got here. Used to be a JW. What did they get right? The Great Dragon. We were talking about the New Earth. That interpretation. A lot of the um, other versions of Christianity, they just talk about a blanket heaven for everyone, and that's just not biblical or Enochical. All right. So, and this is the first law of the luminaries. The luminary, the sun, has its rising in the eastern portals of the heaven and its setting in the western portals of the heaven. I just realized just now I had mentioned in the Quran it said that it was going to rise in the east and set in the west, and that was backwards. So I meant rise in the west, set in the east. I will say, if you ever see somebody on a live stream and they misspeak, please give them the benefit of the doubt. I have thought like, oh wow, why is this person, doing this thing, and then they're misspeaking, and I wanted to correct them and stuff, and then I started doing live streams. You lose words and just things that and you could explain 20,000 times over, and then you just kind of like lose it while you're doing a live stream. And I saw 6 portals in which the sun rises, and 6 portals in which the sun sets, and the moon rises and sets in these portals. And the leaders of the stars, and whom they lead, 6 in the east, 6 in the west, and all following each other in accurately corresponding order. Also, many windows to the right and left of these portals. Somebody tell Bill O'Reilly, because I think if he failed his science classes, then at least he might understand this, because there's never a miscommunication. A lot of six. It's interesting to me that there's 6. The reason I say that is because a lot of the old calendars, of course, were based on the moon, but they were based on special days of the sun, such as the solstices or the equinoxes, right? So that's 4. There's 2 equinoxes per year and 2 solstices per year. But then there's also halfway dates between them. So, for example, I think Halloween, for example, which was also All Souls Day, that just kind of fun times. That is one of the halfway points between the autumn equinox and winter solstice. So it's that halfway point. And so there is 8 like special sun days in the year. So I am surprised, because if we're talking about the sun and how it's rising, and we're also talking about the years and how it's regarded to the seasons and stuff, I would have guessed 8 instead of the 6. So I am interested in the 6. Let's see what you guys are saying here. I'm more curious than afraid. I don't know what's going to happen in the afterlife. If there's an afterlife, I'm thinking there might be, but that's another story. Revelations 21, yes, got it. This life sucks, don't need another. This life doesn't have to suck, Ben. Life is what you make of it. It's true, but, I'd rather not have migraines. You know what I mean? I would love to see a working model using this text, or computer simulation at least. Right, somebody contact who, I don't know, Eric Dubay or whatever, Mark Sargent. I don't know if Mark Sargent actually believes what he talks about. He just doesn't seem like he's convinced. But somebody contact him, have him do it. Who's the other guys that do it? Lobusters? I don't know. Contact Simon and Dan to contact those guys. All right. So, and first, there goes forth the great luminary named the sun, and his circumference is like the circumference of the heaven. Is it? And he is quite filled with illuminating and heating fire. Great. The chariot on which he ascends, the wind drives, and the sun goes down from the heaven and returns through the north in order to reach the east, and so is so guided when he comes to the appropriate portal that shines in the face of the heaven. So again, the sun itself is not being driven, but does ride in a chariot. Just so you guys know. Didn't learn that in your science class, did you? Take that, atheists. In this way, he rises in the first month in the great portal, which is the fourth. Those 6 portals in the cast. And in the 4th portal from which the sun rises in the first month are 12 window openings, from which proceed a flame when they are opened in their season. I'm trying to think like what this could describe. That the sun, like imagine the sun rising, but with like a burst of flame. When does that happen in the year that this would be described here? When the sun rises in the heaven, he comes forth through that 4th portal 30 mornings in succession. Okay, so we're breaking this up with the 6 and the 12. Yeah, so we're breaking this up. And he sets accurately in the 4th portal on the west of heaven. Or of the heaven. It's different. And during this period, the day becomes daily longer and the night nightly shorter. Love that phrasing. To the 30th morning. And on that day, the day is longer than the night by a 9th part, and the day amounts exactly to 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts. And the sun rises from the 4th portal, sets in the 4th portal, returns to the 5th portal, blah, 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 blah. So it seems that, what do we got? 6 times, are we doing it 6 times 12? Am I thinking that correctly? No, it's 30. 30 mornings in succession. 12 window openings. is anyone trying to math this to see if we get 365? Are we there? Is that right? Hang on, let's do it. What do we got? We got the 12, we got the 30. It's 360. And I guess the other 6? I don't know. No, I think it's the 12 and the 30. But I don't think the Sumerians had a pretty similar calendar. I'm trying to remember if it was off by 5 days or not. Because it was either off by 5 days or it was off by like 2 days. But this seems accurate enough. You know what I'm saying? So this is probably the explanation for we're talking about, of course, the solstices when we're talking about the days getting longer and shorter. And then we're switching portals. So, that's a nice model. You know what I mean? It's not right, but that's nice, you know? It does make me wonder, though, what a Christian would say seeing this, or if any of you can put your Christian hats on. Other than, well, that's of course apocryphal, because then if the response to that is, well, it was referenced in the Bible and likely would have been included in the Bible if it would have been found when the Bible was assembled, or the Bibles were assembled. Thoughts? Checking here. All right. Checking the chat. The JWs believe that 7 is the complete number of God, and 6 or 666 is man numbers. That falls constantly short. Well, we've got 6 and 6 and 6 and 12 and 30. So maybe the sun is going to fall short. 6 comes from the days of the week without the Sabbath. Yes, but these are from the year. Over the year, it seems to be going across. I think the limit of the elephant weight is 12 tons. Okay, when you're talking about the giants. Gotcha. I've been watching Twitch streams for about 6 or 7 years, well-versed and given the benefit of the doubt. Yeah, exactly. Science has proven God via William James called mystical experience. Well, I will say mystical is not a scientific term, so... Sadly, genetic illnesses don't have much of a choice in that. Right, that's the thing, So, life sucks, or life is what you make of it. Yeah, but if I could make of it that, we don't have genetic illnesses, for example, yeah, let's see. Simon Dan is great, I agree. Probably not, the JWs are constant. Well, that's true, the JWs are pretty wrong. All this sounds like he's high. I don't think so. I think that this is a way that they really did try to explain some of the why the sun is, the days grow longer and then the days grow shorter. Quite frankly, this is more comprehensive than any of the current flat Earth models, like the Gleason, not the Gleason map, but the Spotlight Sun model, for example. Very eco-friendly chariot, yes. I wonder what its power. Do you think it's solar powered? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The sun's chariot is solar powered. I love it. Okay. I would prefer to hear any ambient noise background that you have going on rather than the noise, gate, sidechain opening and closing when you stop talking. Are you talking about that guy that was doing the gate thing for the proving the Earth is flat? 360 is pretty close, yeah. It doesn't get to 365, but the Hebrew calendar didn't get to 365. Right. I would say I'm confused. So basically, what we were mentioning before about the 2 equinoxes and then the 2 solstices, right? If we're going to try to figure out how does the sun do that, and then what does that mean for each day in between? So as so for example, if we're going from the autumn equinox to the winter solstice, the days are getting shorter and shorter and shorter, which also means the nights have gotten longer and longer. And so every day between those, what percentage or what ratio are we going less day, more night? And that's what they're talking about, where it's done, where did it say here? Fifth portal, let's see, and on that day, the day is equalized with the night, so that's the equinox, and then the night amounts to 9 parts and the day to 9 parts, and then the sun rises in the west and rises 30 mornings, and on that, the night becomes longer than the day, and the night becomes longer than the night, and a day shorter until the 30th morning, and the night amounts exactly to 10 parts and the day to 8 parts. So they're talking about the ratio as we're going from the autumn equinox to the winter solstice, where it's the shortest daylight day of the year. So I think that's what he's trying to chop up. So this one I think would probably be calculated. I don't think this is like a guess or something that he got high or something like that. Let's see the chat real quick. Solar chariot. I know, it's a good time. I feel like the Arabic world invented algebra just so they could work out what was being talked about in these kinds of scriptures. Yeah, maybe. All right. And the sun rises on that day from the second portal, sets in the west in the second portal, returns to the east in the first portal for 1 and 30 morning. So those are the 31 morning month versus a 30 morning month or a 30-day month. And it sets and it continues. So they're still going on like this. It's all more of the same. So I do want to spare you that. And so as it's going on, we're jumping down here to verse 35. And this is the law. And I'm going to highlight this because my eyes are not following it. And the course of the sun, in his return, as often as he returns 60 times and rises, i.e. the great luminary, which is named the sun forever and ever. And that which thus rises is the great luminary, and is so named according to its appearance, according to as the Lord commanded. As he rises, so he sets and decreases not and rests not, but runs day and night, and his light is 7-fold brighter than that of the moon, but as regards size, they are both equal. So if I were an apologist, I would have jumped on that for sure, right? It says here that it runs day and night. So a lot of apologists for the Bible try to go like, oh, this is how the Quran is wrong. And they try to compare like how we know the Bible is right to another text. And so, of course, the Quran says that the sun does stop. It sets in a muddy spring, or it goes under Allah's throne, excuse me, to prostrate itself. So this means the sun stops during the night. But here it says that the sun runs day and night. But of course, if you're doing counter apologetics, in the same verse, it also says that the sun and the moon are the same size. Okay, just one is brighter. Cool questions. We tracking before we go into chapter 73. I feel like heaven is going to church and staying there for eternity, and hell is destruction and fire. This sucks. What kind of choice is this? So we either have to tell him he's great or burn forever. Well, with this older version, you do just kind of like get deleted. It seems that there's a torture that does happen, like you are burned up to nothing, and then that's it. So, unless you're an angel. So the Watchers are being tortured. Some of the disobedient stars are also tortured. And they're tortured for about 10,000 years is what it says. But it seems that the humans that were unrighteous, those humans, it appears were just kind of killed off. They are about the same size in the sky, aren't they? Absolutely. Absolutely. And we do see that sometimes the sun appears smaller or appears larger depending on where you go. And same with the moon. Sometimes the moon does appear larger. All right. And after I saw this, and after this law, I saw another law dealing with a smaller luminary, which is named the moon. We're not talking about smaller size. We're talking about lower, foot candles? Is that how we measure brightness? So not as bright. Speaking of not as bright, hopefully the sun is the brighter luminary. I'm just going to turn this light off. I apologize if it's too dark or my glasses are too reflecty now, but do have to turn that off. All right. And her circumference is like the circumference of the heaven. I don't know why, I just got kind of that yin-yang, the yin-yang kind of thing with the two circles there. You know, the masculine and the feminine with the sun and the moon. Her chariot, which she rides, is driven by the wind. Okay, so this is a wind-powered as opposed to solar-powered. No, the sun's chariot is also wind-powered. And the light is given to her in definite measure. And her rising and setting change every month, and her days are like the days of the sun. And when her light is uniform, or full moon, it amounts to the seventh part of the day, seventh part of the light of the sun. And thus she rises, and her first phase in the east comes forth on the 30th morning, and on that day she becomes visible, and constitutes for you the first phase of the moon, and on the 30th day, together when the sun in the portal in the sun where the sun rises. Sorry, the one half of her goes forth by the seventh part, and the whole circumference is empty without light, with the exception of 1/7 part of it and the 14th part of her light. And it continues on to just explain the phases of the moon throughout the year. That's it. That's it. And so there's no mention about Yahweh or the law or anything else like that. It's just explaining the moon. So interesting. It is kind of interesting, I think, that the moon is really associated with a female deity or noun for a lot of things, except for like German. I'm sure in other languages too, but German it's der Mond, which der is the masculine, the. All right. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. There's a scripture that says he sits on the throne forever and his servants chant holy, holy, holy at him. Yes. And we see that actually in the book of Enoch as well. Let's see. The fire of purification. So there's nothing about scaring people in this chapter. Not so far. It looks like Enoch is just getting a math and science lesson, not a jump scare. Yeah, that's what it seems. I don't really want to burn, and I don't really want to keep saying holy, 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 because I fear if I stop, I will be burning eternally. I don't think at that point, if you're in the presence of Yahweh, I don't think you have any will of your own. Yeah. Put candles greater than lumens. Thank you. In Hebrew and Arabic, forces of nature are feminine tense. But the sun we just talked about, it is a masculine. And I think what were they? I'm not sure about the rain, if we got that gendered. I thought, no, maybe not. I don't know if we were introduced to gender for the other stuff yet. I was thinking the wind. I thought the winds were masculine, but I'm not 100% sure if it was just the north wind or what. So I don't know. This could be something where Enoch is introducing a different concept, but I know that there's a lot of ideas of the moon being feminine and the sun being masculine. Yeah. Just in different cultures, not necessarily Hebrew and Arabic. Getting high and having a psychedelic experience are different. I'd say being high affects the perception and reason slightly, while psychedelics only affect perception, but significantly. Yeah, I guess, I mean, I'm trying to think. But how accurate, like, the LSD testing that was done on the scientists, not, like, before we're doing the mind control stuff with MK Ultra. I was trying to think if how well, because I know that they were given LSD to try to overcome some of their areas where they had gotten blocked mentally, trying to figure something out. And then after this trip, they were able to use their notes from during the trip and figure out, oh, I can fix the problem or solve the problem this way. But I don't know how scientific or mathematical it was as opposed to like a concept. So perhaps that was introduced as a concept. But I feel like this is something that maybe Enoch didn't come up with himself. Maybe borrowed from, I want to say, the Babylonians. Yeah. Let's see. I heard that God had a wife. That is something I've heard as well. Usually it does come from Gnostic stuff, but I know you are into the Gnostic stuff. Let's see. You've just turned off your light when I was turning on mine. Ooh, X-Files theme. From what I hear, Jews go to purgatory for no more than a year. I don't think they have a very firm view of the afterlife. What do you know about this confusion? Are or were you Catholic? Because I know purgatory exists in the Catholic sect, but a lot of the other sects do not have that. In Spanish, moon is feminine, la luna, okay. Enoch is currently impressing the crowd with science. I mean, I do imagine he would have, right? If he came back and he's like, oh yeah, you know, secretly he's studying with like astronomers or astrologers, I guess they were back in the day, because they were kind of mixing the two. But then he comes back, he's like, oh, I had a vision. Like, he's not doing cold reading, he's doing hot reading, you know, that's what it seems like. He might be wowing his own audience. If God has a wife, it would explain why he needs an angel to guard him. Maybe they got into a fight. Well, then he's not all powerful, right? But unless he's sleeping. Johns Hopkins University has done studies involving atheists who had a single dose of a psychedelic, and those atheists could no longer identify with atheism ever afterwards. Okay, so Cafe, you can go to our Discord if you want to talk about this, and that's fine. We are talking about the Book of Enoch. That is off topic, is what you're doing here. Wow. We're going to stop this, and I am going to check something, because I was supposed to have an interview with Neil, the 604 Atheist, but unfortunately, I think that may be moved or canceled, because they have not gotten back to me about that, or perhaps I misunderstood and it was for next week. So I'm going to go ahead and send the invite. As you guys probably remember, or just know from other places, you're not allowed to put links in the live stream, so that's just something I can do. Okay. There we go. So, Cafe, if you want to put, you know, links to the studies and stuff, that would be really cool. But otherwise, it is off topic. We're talking about the Book of Enoch. Yeah. And especially if you guys have seen Apostate Prophet, gosh, this guy's doing about Islam and ex-Muslims and current Muslims, and like you go there and it's just a bunch of Christian spam. It's too bad. Good night, Paul. I don't know why that's there. Same with like the kitchen nightmares, you know, with Gordon Ramsay. And you're just reading stuff and suddenly somebody's like copy paste, you know, repent thing, and like some long something from some website somewhere, and it's just like, why, what do you think you're accomplishing? All right. Oops. All right, so we're seeing another course, a law for her. So we're going to talk about the moon again. how according to that law she performs her monthly revolution, and all these Uriel, the holy angel who's leader of them all, showed me and their positions, and I wrote down their positions, and he showed them to me, and I wrote down their months as they were, and the appearance of their lights till, excuse me, I keep hiccuping, till 15 days were accomplished. Cool, how come we didn't draw a diagram? Come on, Enoch. In single seventh parts, she accomplishes all her light in the east, and in single seventh parts accomplishes all her darkness in the west. Cool, again, this is all that we're talking about. Still going into portals. We're talking about going in the different 6 portals throughout the year. And so here we are going to some of the numbers. Thus I saw their position, in verse 9, how the moons rose and the sun set in those days. And if 5 years are added together, the sun has an overplus of 30 days. And all the days which accrue to it for one of those 5 years, when they are full, amount to 364 days. And the overplus of the sun and the stars amount to 6 days. In 5 years, 6 days, every year come to 30 days, and the moon falls behind the sun and the stars and numbers to 30 days. See, I was not, like, when I added up 360, I'm like, I don't think they were off by that much. And the sun and the stars bring in all the years exactly, so that they do not advance or delay their position by a single day unto eternity, but complete the years with perfect justice in 364 days. Oops. I mean, ignoring the 365, we also got that leap year, right? In the 3 years, there are 1,092 days, and in 5 years, there are 1,820 days, so that in 8 years, there are 2,912 days. And so he's just talking more about the how we have to kind of pad some of the numbers every year, otherwise we're going to be off. So, cool. You know, it is kind of funny, though, that it is mentioned. I'm just kind of thinking again about the Quran. I know I keep bringing up the Quran. It's just I'm redoing that again. I was going to say rereading, but I'm listening to it instead of reading it physically. And, you know, it talks about how the stars are there for us to give us signs, you know, and that is echoed in some cases in the Bible. The stars are there for signs, and so that we may track the year and make a calendar, basically. But then we have to do all this extra calculation, you know. Don't you think that God would have come with a more exact thing where we wouldn't have to? Oh, wait. So if we have 360 years, well, we gotta change it because you know, it's too many days, and then we fall behind, and then our calendar's going to be off, and all this stuff. It just seems like, do you know what I'm saying? You feel what I'm saying? You could have done better. You know, could have done better. All right, see what you guys are saying in the chat. Let's see. Jews don't call it purgatory, but this is where Catholics and Muslims stole the idea from. It's purification by fire. As far as I know, purgatory isn't burning anybody. But I do know with Islam there is like a temporary burning, so I think that might be what you're talking about. Let's see. But as far as Jews and how they feel and stuff, that is not going to be covered here because this is pre-Christian writing. Yeah. Is this a debate? I don't think you've done those before. I did one, but no, this is not a debate. Did something I say make it sound like a debate? All right. Let's see. So cafe, I'm not sure about. So cafe, I feel like you're mixing the terms or changing the terminology. There's a difference between personal experience of a spiritual nature that cannot be justified versus a thing that you went through. Like I had personal experience in the Marines. Hopefully you can see how that's different from claiming that I had personal experience in my bedroom of the Holy Spirit. But again, if you're just here to complain, You don't have to be here. Especially since we're just talking about the Book of Enoch, my dude. So we're not talking about atheism. We've got people in the chat that are Christian, spiritual, Muslim. So this has nothing to do with that. We're just talking about the Book of Enoch. Let's see. Do I enjoy parts of the Bible where God is defeated? Why would I enjoy that, like, specifically? It's just part of the story. Let's see. I've seen that happening in a lot of the comment sections. The vids that are completely unrelated really are. It's really too bad. I wonder if they know that this is not the way to reach people. Like, if they really care about spreading the gospel, then they should care about how they present it so that it's received well. You know what I mean? Maybe they reuse a portal or two and forgot to tell Enoch to make up for leap years. That could happen. That could happen. Uriah, remember, he's not really caring about Enoch as a human, so perhaps he just didn't care. The calendar of the Muslims is lunar, so there's no real issue with the lunisolar harmonization. Great. Maybe Enoch didn't count properly the portals from the floor. Cool. I'm not complaining. I know the difference between a personal spiritual revelation, the Holy Spirit, and one's personal life history. Well, if you do, then I don't know why you even put the facepalm emoji, like, oh, those dumb atheists. And then, yeah, I know the difference between the two, so. Nobody's saying they had a personal spiritual experience to become atheist. That would be facepalm emoji. But, for you, you're being called out, and then you're like, yeah, no, I know the difference. Like, oh, okay, well, then what was the original comment if you actually knew what you were talking about, right? So, Cafe, again, I gave you a link to the Discord. I'll give you another link in case you missed it, because you were too busy talking at other people instead of trying to communicate with. It is minor friendly, so you do have to use language that is minor friendly. And of course, you don't want to be harassing anyone. Again, if you want to actually have a conversation, that's the place you want to go. If you want to share studies and that sort of thing and have a discussion, that's the place you want to go. But if you just kind of want to spam at people, insult atheists and their, insults other YouTube creators, that's just do better, be better. If you really care about the message that you're trying to share it appropriately. Yeah. And that's all I'm going to say on that. If you continue to try to derail the conversation, I am just going to boot you again. You're not being silenced. You are openly invited to the Discord, but we don't want to be derailing the conversation. When an atheist enters a Christian Muslim Latin chat, is kicked out in no time. Sadly, they think they're entitled to spread the nonsense. Hang on. Oh, okay. In atheist chats, I don't know if this happens in other countries. It may. It may, But I have noticed that as well. A lot of angels singing, like they don't really show that much empathy to humans. Yeah, they do definitely showed, right? Cool, Cafe, great. So if you've already shared it, awesome. Other people can check that out later as well. And then you can just stay here and, again, focus just on what we're talking about. Sometimes those who evangelize are more motivated by resisting the outside world than the will to change it. That's true. It does seem, it is very aggressive, right? That they're attacking us, spiritual warfare. So they're already coming at the, coming to the encounter ready to fight. It's me versus them. It's God versus Satan, angels versus demons. Christian versus atheist. It's already an argument is ready. So they do tend to come pretty aggressively. That is true. Let's see. When I try to have a non-argumentative one of these people, and they devolve into name calling, swearing at me, told the one this doesn't help their cause. Yeah, that's why I did make that video about just like applying the same level of skepticism, because that also helps sort of explain why their discussion or their points are not very convincing to people outside of their religious beliefs. All right, so chapter 75, I almost said 35. And the leaders of the heads of the thousands who are placed over the whole creation. Actually, let me just check this real quick to make sure I turned off the alarm. Don't want that going off again. Let's see. They have to do with the 4 intercalary days. So we're talking about the calendar, not like your days of intermittent fasting. Being inseparable from their office. Look, I love how official all this is, right? Their course, their office, their duty. According to the reckoning of the year, and they render service on the 4 days, which are not reckoned in the reckoning of the year. And owing to them, men go wrong therein. For those luminaries truly render service on the world stations, one in the first portal, one in the third portal of the heaven, one in the fourth, one in the sixth, and the exactness of the year is accomplished through its separate 364 stations. Cool. But again, you know, factually incorrect, right? But again, I really like this idea that the moon is performing a service to humans. It's kind of an interesting concept, isn't it? All right. So Uriel is showing Enoch more of these signs of the times. We're talking about the circumference of the sun's chariot in heaven is the size of the portal. I mean, we're just talking about the specifics for that, which again is great as a hypothesis, but once we can show that it is the case or show that it's likely not the case, or that it isn't the case, then, you know, okay, just an interesting footnote in history. But it is sort of interesting just how ancient people really put a lot of thought into this. You know, they were wrong, but they tried. You know, I think it's a nice explanation. At least they were able to explain it in a way that made sense to them, so they could calculate the days, which very helpful to us. You know, just looking back in history, we're able to figure out some of the dates that they had put on some of their documents, for example, and yeah, super helpful. But otherwise, it's, you know, not really worth going into. Just a lot of, it's very tedious, and I don't think it's really helpful to us in understanding a lot of this. Otherwise, these are all being commanded, right? These are commanded, they're appointed. That's something to think about, that God has to constantly command, and Uriel has to constantly command these luminaries. What do you guys think of that as a concept? If you were to write a story or a type of gaming world, and in that world or on that planet or in that theology that you're creating, that there's a person or persons, like entities, in charge of moving the stars or setting them on their course. What do you think of that as just a concept? Obviously not the case, but what do you think about it as the concept? How close are the book of Enoch and Isaiah in chronology? I forget which one had come first, but they're about between 1 and 200 years different, if I recall. But while I am waiting for you guys to answer the question I had asked, we can go ahead and just double check on that. When was Book of Enoch written? Because I think Isaiah was like 600 something. Okay, so instead of 200 years, it's a 2nd century BC. That's how I had tried to remember the two. So they are going to be off that way, and we're looking at Isaiah. So that is the 700 BCE. So we're about 400 years after. That's where we're at. 500 years after. Don't ask me to math right now. Oh. And the lunar calendar gives me the idea of the story of Muhammad cutting the moon in half, maybe symbolic, by dividing the measure of time in half, the 2 portions being before and after Islam. That reminds me of the people that say Jesus must have existed because he cut time in half, which just meant the BC, AD, which we now call BCE and CE. To them, the moon services us because it allows them to calculate the seasons. It's there to help calculate the seasons, right? Damn, Enoch, were you going to post your workout plan? It's been a few thousand years since you gave us a head up on intermittent fasting. Well, fasting has definitely been part of, I was going to say religion, but even just human evolution, right? Just living. I mean, we didn't have an abundance of food all the time, you know. That's what I mean. Is Enoch a farmer? These calculations are very useful to an agricultural society. That's a good question. I don't know if Enoch was a farmer, or like a herder, like a semi-nomadic herder, or some type of priestly job. I guess it's kind of hard for us to really say for sure. But yes, a lot of these, that's why I don't even think he really made the calculations himself. I think these calculations came from somewhere else, but of course very useful to an agricultural society. Absolutely. All right, if there's no more thoughts, or you can continue to post your thoughts about the idea of a creator deity having to physically command stuff, or put a dude in charge to physically command stuff, feel free. So we are talking more about the windows, we're talking more about the portals, but in this case we're talking about the winds, okay? And again, this is more of if you're just curious about how they had broken it down. This is something that's not it's not going to give us any really interesting theological stuff to sift through, is what we're saying. But I do think it's interesting that each of these winds has almost a job. So there's a wind that can bring destruction on Earth. There's another portal that opens where another type of wind is bringing forth good things, good smells, rain, that kind of stuff. Locusts, you know, some other things. So not that locusts are good, but we also get locusts coming through, which is pretty interesting as part of a wind. You know, I can understand fog, clouds, rain, hail, snow on occasion, even in that region, and dew and that sort of thing. But locusts, you know, I wouldn't group that in with wind. You know, oh yeah, so I don't teach that as part of the hydrologic cycle. You know, like okay, so we got precipitation, and we got evaporation, condensation, locusts, and then precipitation again. You know, that's not part of anything that I've had to teach. But it is interesting to see that there's plagues, which here we're talking about a type of really bad thing that happens, or a type of sickness that overcomes a significant portion of the population, not specifically the bacteria that causes plague, but I suppose it could be, but I don't think we're getting that specific. So again, we've got the mountains, the rivers, and all of that. But what is interesting is that the Most High will descend. So at one point in the future, God, Yahweh, will come down from heaven. This was most likely referring to Judgment Day. So when we're talking about this section here, about the seas containing water and the abysses and the forests and rivers, we're talking about the super, super, super deep water, or possibly like a portal down out from the bottom of the earth. So those are the kinds of things that we're talking about here. Let's see. Divine beings being critical to magical worlds. Working is used to create a lot of story when the divine beings stop doing what they do, such as magic stops working. That's true. That's a good point. The Book of Enoch seems easier to follow than the Iliad, at least in the translations I've consulted. I'm trying to think. When was the last time I read the Iliad? It's been a while, so I don't know how clear it was, because I think I read that like as a teenager. That's when I had gotten into that. Let's see. Always a strange proposition from the Deus Ex Machina. Feels like the best explanation for a natural phenomena. You have the most feminist glasses I've ever seen. I think you have every right to like that sort of fashion. I'm not judging you for it. I was going for 1950s, but okay. 1950s migraine helpers, but okay. Apparently, my glasses have a political and ideological belief system. Other examples: death stops collecting souls, winter is sulking, so there's no snow, so on and on. I think that is a good point, for games especially, kind of to address, the dead god or a god that's been tricked or has gone bad, where they've been teaming up with like a negative or a trickster god, and they stop performing their duty. I do think that works there, but it does seem odd to describe it as, this is just what Yahweh is doing. But it does sort of make sense too when we talk about things like torrential rain is a sign that we're doing something wrong. It's a punishment from God. That things like what are we talking about? Eclipses, that's what I was thinking. That's a sign from God, So yeah, I guess it would kind of go. I just feel like it was too tedious for an all-powerful deity. I would just set it up. And what was that old? I forget what it was called, but there was a as seen on TV kind of roasting thing when Atkins got really big before it was called keto. But you set it and forget it. That's what I feel like Yahweh should have done. Let's see. Monster snowstorm in Egypt more than 20 years ago. Yeah. I think people don't realize that it does snow in hot deserts. The reason I say that is because, of course, it snows sometimes in Antarctica, which is our largest desert. I don't know if I'm suffering from the Mandela effect, but I remember that the Book of Enoch was in our family Bible. It might be. So if you have a Bible that is from like the Coptic Christians or the like the Ethiopic, like older that older kind of Christians, that could be in there. It also may have been referenced. So the Book of Enoch is referenced in all of the Bibles. And they may have included that just because they wanted to just add it. Like, hey, this is referenced. This thing about Noah, this is explained in the Book of Enoch. And then in the New Testament, Enoch is referenced, and he's like mentioned by name. And the idea of like rebellious angels, a hell, all of that really comes from the Book of Enoch. So we know that the New Testament people, including the writers, definitely had access to the Book of Enoch, which is very interesting that we didn't find it as modern people until so much later, because I feel like they should have been grouped together. Somebody would have certainly had it, but perhaps they all just heard it as an oral retelling, and nobody had like a physical copy. So that may have been included for that reason. I feel like if I were to compile even a Protestant Bible, that I would add the Book of Enoch, or at least important sections of the Book of Enoch. I don't know about this section necessarily, but relevant sections as they're related to these specific Bible verses. Yeah, I would definitely include them. So it is possible that they were, it was in your Bible. I sometimes daydreamed about a spaceship where the systems had different user interface to give them different personalities. Life support would be a caring person. Weapons would be pretty cool. So that's interesting. But I am gonna just remove that. Uh-oh. I don't know if I can. I can't hide. I don't want to click remove because I don't know if it removes you. Just make sure to use minor safe language, okay? Although at first the ship systems were like a mom and dad. Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing. I think we may do that too with a more integrated, smart artificial intelligence. Yeah. Volume is kind of low, so I mean, it may have gotten lower just because I'm losing steam. That's all. Some Protestants add the Apocrypha, not necessarily for canon, but for historical purposes. Right. So that's yeah, that's similar, yeah, to what I was trying to explain. But you're much better at being more concise. That 200 character limit sometimes comes in handy to be more concise, for sure. So we're talking about the mountains. These are 7 high mountains that are higher than all the mountains on the earth. So we've got these extra mountains. I'm getting the impression this would be more of a border type of mountain, kind of like the some of the flat earthers that don't accept the dome, or even some that do, refer to Antarctica as an ice wall that holds in the waters. I'm getting kind of that idea here. So we're getting these different types of seasons, colds. We're getting rivers that dump into seas, and these kind of produce the water for the different seas. And that's not something that would have been crazy to think about, right? Because if I know that streams exist, they appear to be sourced from mountains, and oh look, there's a small lake or a large pond, and it's receiving more water from the river. When the river dries up, it appears this lake or pond is drying up, then I can easily start associating the two. So this idea that the extra large seas or any kind of oceans must be then sourced by a gigantic mountain with like a mega river, and that's where all of their water is coming from. You know, this makes sense if you were to make those guesses, but of course we know that's just not the case today. So again, that's just really what it's talking about here. I do want to make sure that we are like where I want to stop. This is a reminder. All right, so we've got a couple more chapters to go. But we're not really, you know, reading through all of this again, because this is going to be just more of that explanation. I don't know why this is bouncing so much. Is this bouncing for you guys too? Hopefully it's okay. I also like that we have some of the names of the sun. How many of us have an uncle or cousin Tomas? Because I feel like I gotta tell him. The moon has 4 names as well. Cool, you know, but what is that really telling us in like terms of like theology, right? So again, it's just talking more and more about the moon. I almost feel like this was included in such repetitive detail to try to say, see, you guys know that this is true, so everything else that I mentioned in these books are also true. I feel like it's almost added to provide some legitimacy to the fantastical claims that were being made, even though, of course, we know that this is not actually how things work. But that's, you know, I'm just trying to think if I was a person at that time listening to this story that Enoch is telling, I would be really impressed with this. You know, I would think, wow, that sounds very interesting, and I don't necessarily know if it's true, but you know, that does explain why the moon is this way, and that explains why we have 364 days, and that explains where the seasons come from, you know. So I would be very, you know, I would think, yeah, there might be some truth to this. So therefore worship Yahweh, not really sure, but I feel like that's how a lot of modern Christians, at least modern apologists, sort of use the Bible, like, oh, well, we know this king existed, therefore Jesus walked on water. You know what I mean? It was divine and born of a virgin and all that stuff, which of course you cannot make that jump. So we're talking about the laws again, okay? So Enoch is talking to the people, to Noah, and now, my son, I have shown thee everything, and the law of all the stars of heaven is completed. I don't know if we got all the stars, right? And we also got mountains, which is weird. I wouldn't consider mountains a great luminary of the heavens. And he showed me all the laws of these for every day, for every season of bearing rule, for every year, for its going forth, for every order prescribed to it in every week, and the waning of the moon, and so on, and so on, and so on. Which, of course, doesn't really help in the southern hemisphere, right? How would this work at the same time? So, such is the picture and sketch of every luminary which Uriel, the archangel, who is their leader, showed unto me. Thank you, Uriel. It's sort of like you know, take your kid to work day, I feel like. And Uriel's like, yeah, so this is what I do, you know, I open the door, keep the schedule, you know, It's not a glamorous job, but it's honest work. You know, that's kind of the feeling I get. Uriel's not really talking very much. He may have been explaining to Enoch, but I would have liked to hear what Uriel thinks of his job. You know, does he think it's important, repetitive, just kind of goes on autopilot? So here we have Uriel answering him finally, though. Let's just check the chat real quick. Let's see. Come on. There's so many microphones today. Get one. Looks cool too. I have a microphone right here. I have migraines and I'm tired. So sometimes my volume goes down. That's what I'm talking about. My volume goes down. Some Protestants add the Apocrypha. Okay, we read that already. That's it, Moses. You didn't sacrifice enough lambs for me. I'm unplugging your son for the rest of the day. Exactly. No more. You're just too busy playing those, I guess not video games, kiddie-o games where a kid is a baby goat. I don't know. It's a bit of a stretch. Let's see. So Daniel, don't know why you think that I care that you think I'm beautiful, but don't you tend to look like a stern school teacher about to tell me why I'm stupid. I think that's very subjective to you. I don't think most people would necessarily agree with that. I am a school teacher, by the way, so maybe that's where it comes from. But again, I don't know. Like, basically you're saying, can you smile more because that makes me feel comfortable? That's a bit of a weird ask from a stranger. You know what I mean? Let's see. Went to take my dog out for a few minutes. We're talking about mountains and rivers. I know, and it's supposed to still be in this like luminaries of the heavens, but the mountains are there. Very strange, but we're still in the same section. All right. After this, I feel like watching Hercules, The Legendary Journeys. Yeah, and Xena, Warrior Princess. That would be good. Let's see. Yeah, so Leonardo, if you're hearing me okay, I know my setup is okay. I'm checking the OBS, and that's good. I'm at that, like, level. I think Wounded Monk was helping me with this, where it's, like, between the green and the yellow, so I don't get very crunchy if I make a loud noise. But yeah. Bring your Enoch to work day. Exactly. I feel like that's what the angels are doing. Just kind of like, let's take Enoch, let's show him the stuff, you know. They don't seem very excited about their job. How about the angels and Yahweh are the only ones with the lifeboats in the sinking ship we call Earth? Maybe, but they just kind of do a hard reset sometimes, it feels like. You asked for fiction ideas. The ship's computers are the closest I got. No. I think that's totally fine. I like it. I wonder why Ezekiel made it into the Bible, but Enoch didn't. Enoch did make it into the Bible, but the Book of Enoch didn't. The reason the Book of Enoch didn't is because it was found after the Bibles were compiled, but it is apparently was accessible to earlier Christians. So when we're talking about like the Catholic and the Protestant Bibles, they did not have access to the Book of Enoch, which is why it doesn't show up in there. But Enoch himself is actually referenced. The Book of Enoch is referenced in the New Testament, but otherwise it's yeah, missing from there. That's the only reason. Let's see. Right, unless you want to please me, which you have no reason at all to do. Exactly. So Daniel, I'm not trying to roast your, you know, to make you feel bad. I'm just saying that, you know, as I hate to go down this road, but as, you know, as a woman, right, you get a lot of these comments from guys that you don't even know, just I don't know who you are, about smiling more specifically. And it's this idea that, you know, women should be friendly and approachable and sweet, and just their visual appearance should just make you feel good about yourself, and that if they're stern, it looks like they're gonna make you feel bad and stupid. So when you said that, that's actually something that's really common for women to hear, even in our modern societies. And so that's why it's like, so what was your purpose with that? You know, if you know that it's not my job to please you, why even bring it up? You know what I mean? Let's see. Oh, see, Summer just mentioned the same thing, right? You know you're supposed to smile through your pain and the male gaze shaking finger. Exactly. This is something women hear all the time. It's like it's like imagine if you were having a really bad day and you were very upset and you were near tears and some female coworker came up to you and said, "Man up." And you'd be like, oh, I really hate that stereotype that men, have to appear tough all the time and whatever. It's such a common, unfair stereotype that men can't show their true emotions. It's like that, I would say, maybe for women. So this idea that women always have to appear friendly and whatever. So I can enjoy both looks. That's the thing, Daniel. That's the thing. It's not about your enjoyment, and I think that's maybe to underscore your personal preference really has no, like, I don't know why. That's like saying, oh, Lee, you should eat mint chip ice cream because I like mint chip ice cream. Cool, I'm glad you like mint chip ice cream, but what does that have to, like, why should I care? Do you know what I mean? So, oh, I like how you look. You know what I mean? So, all right. Let's see. I can hear her just fine. I know you're winding down due to the migraine extravaganza. I know, it's always exciting. I hear you fine. I'm on my desk and treadmill. Good. So if you guys are able to hear me fine, then perhaps to aspirative music production, perhaps there's an issue on your end. Maybe something got like a setting got accidentally touched or something. Yeah, and again, Daniel, I'm not trying to like bad Daniel, but just to let you guys, just to let you know, what I'm trying to say in a very bad way is that you should be yourself. Daniel, I was doing that. So then why bring up those comments at all? You know what I mean? I was already being myself. So why? You know? It's like if I'm hard at work and my boss comes in to distract me and then says, well, I just want to make sure that you're hard at work. Like, that's what I was doing. So yeah, I was already being myself, obviously. This is not a popular look. So yeah. I guess I don't know why you thought that I needed your input to be reassured that I should be myself. And again, I'm not trying to be harsh on you. I just am asking because that is a common thing that people say. So I just am asking that you kind of think about that and say, well, why am I compelled to say something like this to a total stranger? And just think about that because I'm just some random person online, don't really care, not offended, whatever. But you might encounter somebody in like face to face that might be bothered by what you say. It might be, hard on them for whatever reason. The angels aren't too excited about their jobs because they have to say, "Holy God, praise the God." I haven't seen that so much from the archangels though. So maybe that's why they like their job because they get to get away from Yahweh for a second. It's like those cult leaders that have a really tight control over almost all the congregation and the leaders in the congregation, but then there's like those that are closest to the cult leader that kind of have a little bit of freedom because they've proven their loyalty. Maybe that's what it is. Um, Motion blur. Hey, Liam, see, there we go again. I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but you're the most beautiful woman I've seen all day long. So again, just like a Christian coming in here and talking about something totally unrelated to the video, talking about the Book of Enoch. The only reason I'm even giving this any attention is just because I think it is sort of an important topic, and it is brought up right now. Yeah, exactly. Right. It's just a mere compliment, like it or not. Well, then it's not a compliment, is it? And to say that I look like a stern school teacher about to give you a talking to and make you feel stupid, that's not a compliment. That's saying, hey, Lee, change your face because I like it when you smile. That's not a compliment. And if you say to somebody, well, I don't even care if you like it. I don't care if it has a bunch of loaded language that comes with a lot of sexism. I don't even care. Just take it or leave it. That's not a compliment. Do you know what I mean? Like if I'm complimenting you on something, it's because I want you to feel good about it. But if it's like, well, that's not a compliment, my dude. That is you wanting to say something and affect my behavior. That's not a compliment. Digging a hole. Yeah, see, Wounded Monk, you noticed it too. Yeah. Enoch is referenced in Jude. Oh my goodness. Was it Jude or was it I'm trying to remember exactly where it was. We could look it up. We did at the beginning of the book. But it is referenced in there. There's also a lot of the ideas about the afterlife that Christians have. It is inspired by the stuff in the New Testament, which is inspired by the Book of Enoch for sure. Yahweh reminds me of Sauron. He imposes his will. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, the eye of God and the mind of angels, right? I remember from my school days, the teacher thought Ezekiel and John were under the influence of hallucinogenic plants while writing their books. And then mushroom emoji, and a laughing emoji. And quite frankly, I don't even think there needs to be a laughing emoji. That's a very matter-of-fact kind of thing. A lot of these religious experiences were done with things like different kinds of drugs, or toxic gases in the cases of the Oracle of Delphi, or the Oracles of Delphi, I guess. So that is, yeah, pretty interesting. But does explain a lot, doesn't it? So Uriel is now finally talking to Enoch about his cool job and says, I've shown you everything, Enoch, revealed everything to you, and you should see the sun, the moon, the leaders of the stars of heaven, all those who turn to them, their tasks, times, and departures. So now we're talking about the perversion of nature, the heavenly bodies owning to the sin of men. Hopefully, we all understand perversion. In this case, we're not necessarily going to be talking about anything sexual perversion. Perversion is just like the thing that is supposed to happen, like the course of nature, is being twisted in some way that is harmful. Yeah. So in the days of the sinners shall be shortened. I mean, it wouldn't be the Book of Enoch if we're not going to get mad at the sinners, right? The days of the sinners, the years shall be shortened, their seed shall be tardy on their lands and fields, and all the things on earth shall alter. And they shall not appear in their time, and the rain shall be kept back, and the heaven shall withhold it. The fruits of the earth shall be backwards, and not grow in their time, and so on. So really, we're talking about the sun and the moon and the stars aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, whether that's disappearing, being there too long, and then the rest of the land is also going to be affected. We're getting drought, we're getting famine. So the moon is getting all screwy. The moon is shining more brightly. The sun is shining more brightly, I should say. And the stars are going to go out of order. Okay. And imagine hearing this. This is going to sound pretty scary, isn't it? That not only is there famine and drought, but this idea that even like the constellations in the sky that we can use to help us with the not only with navigation, but also with seasons, that's also going to be totally messed up. So not only is this going to affect me with my food and water access, but even if I have stores of food and water, I can't even navigate correctly. You know, my whole navigation system is messed up. So I think it's a very scary thing, even though it's not written in a very frightening way. I think it's a very scary kind of concept. So their orbits are altering, everything is being messed up. The whole order shall be concealed from the sinners, and shall the thoughts of the earth err concerning them, they shall err and take them unto gods. Evil shall be multiplied upon them, punishment shall come upon them, so as to destroy all. Again, we're destroying them. What do we think after Uriel tells Enoch this? Are we going to get Enoch collapsing again? He's feeling heaviness in his chest and he just collapses, this poor boy. What do we see in the chat? The burning bush. Yeah, the burning bush, absolutely. It could have been that. Have you run into the theory that Yahweh is one of many gods, a bad or evil god? So this is in, I think it's the Gospel of Judas, which we do want to cover as well. So yeah, it is covered there that he's a lesser god and he's evil, and the other gods really don't like him, and then he made this earth so he could just torture it. It's sort of like a kid who gets an ant farm so he can set his ants on fire. You know, that sort of idea. Aspirative, you need more tanning to satisfy my aesthetic. I'll get right on it. Actually, I do tan very well, but I gotta stay out of the sun these days. Lots of modern scholars seriously consider that the world's major religions may be rooted with the utilization of psychedelics, some of the Hinduism to the Eucharist. Yes. Absolutely. There's even a really interesting, but still just a hypothesis, concept of the stoned ape. I might be doing a video just on that, but I don't know if it deserves a video. But it's basically the idea that part of our mental and spatial progress, by that I mean like how far early humans moved on the physical earth. A lot of our progress came from psilocybin, because apparently they grow very well just in our poop. So, kind of interesting stuff. The angel in the burning bush is Jesus. That's one I've never heard. So, Motion Blur, if you want to elaborate on that. Have fun, Stormbringer. See you another stream. We'll do this again next week. Speaking of streams, I do want to double check to see if I was contacted. I still wasn't contacted. So I must have been thinking this is the wrong date. Otherwise, we'd have to stop. Let's see. Do a video on the stoned ape hypothesis. I think it's very fun. I think it's an interesting concept. I run it by my students in the AP Psych class. This is a concept, of course. Just, hey, what do you guys think of this? Kind of interesting. We're talking about the heavenly tablets and the mission of Enoch. Finally, Enoch gets a mission. This is now him at the angel's workday, and he's walking around with his little tablet. And he said unto me, observe, Enoch, these heavenly tablets, and read what is written thereon, and mark every individual fact. From here, I am going to highlight everything. If you're just wondering why I'm doing that, it's so I can stay straight. Just with some migraines, for those of you that don't experience them or don't know because you haven't heard this. Some migraines, of course, are, a lot of times we usually associate them with severe head pain. There's a lot of other different symptoms, and so very dizzy is another one. And you get the feeling that you're like inverted. So that's the feeling I'm having right now. So if I just take a minute and pause or misread something, if I misread something, just let me know I skipped something. I won't take offense to it or anything. And I observed the heavenly tablets and read everything which was written thereon, and understood everything. Okay, our boy understands, it's good. And read the book of all the deeds of mankind, and of all the children of flesh that shall be upon the earth to the remotest generations. I like the children of flesh. Could be a reference to humans as opposed to the human angel hybrids, or possibly I'm thinking miscarriages, so that might be another thing. And forthwith I blessed the great Lord, the King of glory forever, in that he has made all the works of the world. So here we go, of course. God is amazing, holy, 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 and that's what we're crying again. And I extolled the Lord because of his patience. His patience? This is the guy that sees the Watchers and the Nephilim and he just deletes everything. His patience? Okay. But I guess you just compliment him, right? And blessed him because of the children of men. And after that I said, blessed is the man who dies in righteousness and goodness, concerning whom there is no book of unrighteousness written, and against whom no day of judgment shall be found. Cool. Again, this is like the big message that Enoch is instructed to write down. So all the other stuff, a lot of it he's writing down just to explain. But some of the things that Enoch writes down, he's told specifically to write down. And I guess out of the two, assuming that the way that he described the courses of the sun and the moon and the openings of the dome and everything, assuming that was true, if I was a god, I don't know, I feel like that knowledge would have been more important. But for Yahweh, knowledge is a sin. We've seen this a lot of times. Knowledge is a sin, not only from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, but because when the Watchers came down to earth, not only did they interbreed with human women, but they also shared knowledge, and that was what really angered Yahweh. So the 7 holy ones brought me and placed me on the earth before the door of my house. That's nice, that's good. We got a little Uber action. And said to me, declare everything to thy son Methuselah. That's who it was. Methuselah was his son. Noah was the grandson, I believe, or great-grandson. And show to all thy children that no flesh is righteous in the sight of the Lord, for he is their creator. That's something, isn't it? Show to all thy children that no flesh is righteous in the sight of the Lord, for he is their creator. So a perfect creator creates a beloved creation. And that creation is always less than. Always. You know, of course you don't have to be equal to Yahweh, but you can appreciate it, you know? I mean, I'm sure those of you that have children, right? You guys don't look upon your kids and be like, your accomplishments are not accomplishments because I am your creator. You are less than I am. Like, what a thing to say, you know? I don't know if it's humility as much as it is fear and intimidation. You know, it's not humility. Hang on a second. Sorry, I'm getting the dizzies. It is, again, it's a weird feeling. It's like, imagine if you're in a pool and you're like flipping around in under the water, and then an earthquake happens while you're doing that, and it just shakes you around. And you're just very disoriented. That's what it feels like. Thankfully, no pain, at least. All right. Let's see. Enoch seems like he may have the form of epilepsy, where you're about to feel like you have a revelation to a religious awakening right before a seizure. Yeah, Wounded Monk, I think on the Discord chat, I think we had talked about that on the voice chat. Because to me that's a very interesting one. To me, I feel like that's what Muhammad had undergone. Let's see. You have a migraine now. That sucks. I'm sorry. This is one of the reasons I don't like to include ads, because I know a lot of you also have migraines. If he read everyone that was supposed to exist, the deeds of these people must have taken a long time. His patience, maybe he just doesn't want to get deleted, so he said that. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Magic Cactus, Megan Fox. Are we talking, is peyote? That's from Cactus, right? But it wouldn't be the origin of hell unless it's the origin of hell in North America, because the cactus does not grow. The cactus is only native to that region. You can transport it, of course, but it's only native to that region. So, like, the idea of hell in Mesopotamia, which I think you just meant it as a joke, but just FYI, yeah. So the idea of like hell in Mesopotamia couldn't have come from that particular drug. Plot twist, Christ was the one who gave the knowledge to Adam and Eve in the form of a snake. That would be interesting. Be a rather abusive, narcissistic parent, yeah. That's not a good time. So we're gonna let thy... Oh, sorry. 1 year we will leave thee with thy son, till thou givest thy last commands, and thou mayest teach the children and record it for them. Basically, write it down, share it. Okay. Let thy heart be strong, for the good shall announce righteousness to the good. The righteous with the righteous shall rejoice, and offer congratulation to one another. I mean, this is something we see in those Christian spams, isn't it? When they come and spam different places and they kind of ignore everybody or insult everybody and talk to each other about how great they are while they talk about how they're so humble. So I love this, that this is in there. There's a lot of these themes that kind of stuck in the religion as it mutated into Christianity and also into Islam. Yeah, the sinner shall die with the sinners, the apostate go down with the apostate. Sorry, almost feels like my ears are about to pop. This is new. Sorry, that's a weird, funky. And those who practice righteousness shall die on account of the deeds of men, and shall be taken away on account of the doings of the godless. Cool. They ceased to speak to me, and I came to my people, blessing the Lord of the world. Sorry, Enoch. They ceased to speak to you. So now we've got more to Enoch. We're talking about the stars, the seasons, and the months. Again, this is still that section. So he's just telling Methuselah, his son, he's just saying, hey, I learned this, and now you're going to learn it too. Which, again, it just seems a bit repetitive, right? Isn't what he wrote good enough. Methuselah just could have written or read that, you know, but this is a separate account for him specifically. Talks about Uriel, talks about the sun, the stars, the moons, different powers of heaven, how they move, when they move, why there's 360 days, how we calculate all of this stuff, the different names of the sun, the different names of the moon, all of that different stuff. So that's really what we're talking about. So it is, again, like an interesting note, but not a whole lot in terms of understanding a bit of the theology a bit more. So this, I believe, is the last section here. Was that right? Was it 30 or 70? 83, right? 83? Or were we at 82? Okay, so we're good. We did finish. So he finishes just repeating himself to Methuselah. Very fun, very cool. And we'll be going about the dream vision, and we are almost finished. We're gonna have 2 more, possibly 3 more. Maybe, yeah, 2 more, and then a final, just to read these last sections, and then sort of wrap up as far as the live streams. So after that, if you guys have any specific requests, please let me know. Otherwise, I do want to talk about the infancy gospel of James. Not Philip, the infancy gospel of James. Yeah. That is good.